defense.
Well, I'm reading the report and.
One was with me.
Okay. And how old was that child?
3.
And I guess, did they ever find the child that she
My
said?
dad had picked him up.
Well, no, in the police report, you say that your boyfriend, Rick, ran off with the child and they end up calling the Eagle Eye helicopters to try to find the boyfriend with the child. Please announce for the record for the state.
Marcus Sanders.
For the defense.
James Tochi, Judge.
And are you Brenda Carbajal Vargas?
Yes, ma'am.
We're proceeding by video. Any objection from the state?
None.
Any objection from the defense?
No, Judge.
Ms. Carbajal, I'm showing you what's entitled Defendant's Consent to Appear by Video. Did you review that document with your attorney? Did you understand it? And did you electronically sign it?
Yes, ma'am.
Court will find that defendant has knowingly and voluntarily consented to appear by video. Next, I'm showing you what's entitled Application for Deferred Adjudication or Community Supervision. Did you review that document with your attorney? Did you understand it? And did you electronically sign it?
Yes, ma'am.
Counsel, I'm showing you the acknowledgement of discovery. Have you received all the discovery in this case? And did you review it with your client?
Yes, I have, Judge, and yes, I did.
Court will find that the state is in compliance with discovery. Ms. Vargas, I'm showing you what's entitled True Bill of Indictment. Did you review that document with your attorney? Did you understand it?
Yes, ma'am.
Counsel, do you waive the reading of the indictment?
Yes, Judge.
State, are you proceeding on the indictment as presented?
I don't know. Tochi,
No, you're going on driving while intoxicated as a Class B misdemeanor.
okay, yes, Judge. Then we're going on the lesser included misdemeanor DWI.
All right, any objections?
No, ma'am.
Ms. Carbajal, I'm going to show you what's entitled Court's Admonishment and Defendant's Waivers and Affidavit of Admonitions. Did you review this document with your attorney? Did you understand it? And did you electronically sign it in all the appropriate places?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you understand that the state is proceeding on the offense of driving while intoxicated as a Class B misdemeanor? The range of punishment is anywhere up to 180 days in the Bexar County Jail and up to $2,000 fine. Did you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
If you have a plea bargain agreement with the state, the court does not have to follow your plea bargain agreement. If for any reason the court does not follow your plea bargain agreement and gives you more than you bargained for, the fact that you entered a plea will not be used against you, and you will be allowed to withdraw your plea. Did you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you understand you have a right to jury trial, a right for you or your attorney to cross-examine and confront any witnesses the state will call and the right to remain silent?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you understand by entering this plea bargain agreement, you were giving up those rights?
Yes, ma'am.
And did you intend to give up those rights and enter into a plea bargain agreement in this case?
No, ma'am.
Listen to my question. Did you intend to give up those rights and enter into a plea bargain agreement in this case?
Oh, yes, ma'am.
Did you understand if the court were to grant your application for deferred adjudication, if for any reason your deferred adjudication were revoked, the court could sentence you up to 180 days in the Bexar County Jail and up to $2,000 fine? Did you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Counsel, has your client been able to provide you with any defenses to this offense?
She has, Judge.
Do you believe she has a rational as well as a factual understanding of the charges against her?
I do.
Do you believe she's currently competent and was legally sane at the time of the offense?
I do.
Ms. Carbajal, has anyone threatened you, coerced you, or placed you in fear to get you to enter this plea?
No, ma'am.
Has anyone promised you anything other than the plea bargain agreement to get you to enter this plea?
No, ma'am.
Are you satisfied with the way you've been represented?
Yes, very.
Are you a U.S. citizen?
No.
Mr. Toshi, did you advise the defendant of the consequences of pleading no contest or guilty in the application of federal immigration law?
Judge, I referred her to an immigration attorney. I believe that she consulted with Melanie Lira. I'm not sure if Ms. Lira is here, but I did speak to Ms. Lira, and I know that Ms. Carbajal did speak to Ms. Lira as well, and she was advised of the consequences of her plea today.
Yes.
And do you believe she understands the consequences of entering a plea in this case?
I do, Judge, yes.
All right, off the record for a moment. All right, we're back on the record. Ms. Vargas, did you speak with an immigration attorney regarding the consequences of entering a plea in this cause?
Yes, ma'am. I got off the Zoom early this morning.
Okay. And were you advised of the possible consequences of entering a plea in this case, such as deportation, exclusion from admission to the United States, and the denial of naturalization?
Yes, ma'am. I'm aware of all that.
Okay, and knowing all that, do you still wish to continue with this plea?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, the court will find that the defendant has knowingly and voluntarily waived her right to jury trial. Next, I'm showing you the plea bargain page. Did you review that page with your attorney and did you understand it?
Yes, ma'am.
According to the plea bargain agreement, the state is proceeding on the lesser included offense of driving while intoxicated. There's a $600 fine. The state recommends deferred adjudication. Did you understand that to be the plea bargain agreement?
Yes, ma'am.
Defense is at the plea bargain agreement.
It is, Judge.
State is at the plea bargain agreement.
Yes, Judge.
Next, I'm showing you the paragraph entitled waiver of appeal. Did you review that paragraph with your attorney? Did you understand it? And did you electronically sign it in both places?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you understand by signing that you're waiving your right to appeal? The only items that can be appealed are written pretrial motions that have been filed, heard, and ruled upon by the court. Did you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Counsel, are there any such motions?
No, Judge.
Next, I'm showing you outside the plea bargain agreement. The state is requesting that your deferred adjudication be for a term of 1 year. There be a TAP evaluation, 60 hours of community service restitution, ignition interlock for half the term of supervision, DWI education, and the DIP course. Did you understand those are recommendations from the state and the court does not have to follow those recommendations?
Yes, ma'am.
Then to the lesser included offense of driving while intoxicated as a Class B misdemeanor, how do you plead? Guilty, not guilty, or no contest?
No contest.
All right, state, do you have any evidence to support the defendant's no contest plea?
Yes, Judge. The state offers States Exhibit 1 and its attachments.
Without objections, Judge.
Ms. Vargas Carbajal, I'm going to show you what's entitled waiver and consent to stipulation of testimony and stipulations. Did you review that document with your attorney? Did you understand it? And did you electronically sign it in all the appropriate places?
Yes, ma'am.
Again, did you understand you have a right to jury trial, a right for you or your attorney to cross-examine and confront any witnesses the state will call in the right to remain silent?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you understand that today the state will be presenting evidence in the form of witnesses' statements and police reports, but most importantly, there will be no live testimony? Did you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Court will find that the defendant has knowingly and voluntarily waived and consented to stipulation of testimony and stipulations. Court will accept into evidence States Exhibits 1 and attachments, and the court will review the same. All right, after reviewing States Exhibits 1 and attachments, the court will find there is sufficient evidence to find you guilty. Court will defer finding of guilt as you applied for deferred adjudication. Are you proceeding with sentencing?
Yes, Judge, we're prepared for sentencing.
All right, anything you would say on behalf of your client?
No, ma'am, just that you follow the plea bargain. She's been on bond for a while. No need to call attention to her pretrial history with the court. I know that you are very well aware of it. Brenda and I have had some very serious, stern talks about your expectations while on this deferred, so don't need to belabor that point. The only other issue, Judge, is she currently has a pretrial condition of GPS. Myself and Mr. Nisbet, who I don't know if is here or not, we are in agreement to request the court remove that. That was a pretrial bond. They're not recommending it as part of her plea, and I would ask the court to please allow her to remove that GPS. She's not going to run. She has monitoring. It's no longer needed, Judge.
All right. All right, Ms. Vargas, are you employed?
Yes, ma'am.
What do you do?
I work at part-time 7-Eleven, and I'm a waitress at a Mexican restaurant.
All right, so when you had this vehicle crash, where were the children?
With the grandparents.
Well, I'm reading the report and.
One was with me.
Okay. And how old was that child?
3.
And I guess, did they ever find the child that she
My
said?
my dad had picked him up.
Well, no, in the police report, you say that your boyfriend, Rick, ran off with the child and they end up calling the Eagle Eye helicopters to try to find the boyfriend with the child. So I'm trying to take you back to this incident, the incident where you had 2 alcoholic twisted teas and 1 shot of Jameson whiskey. So I'm trying to go back to this day. So what happened to the child? Because you said, Rick, you crashed the vehicle in a fence at the airport. You said that Rick took off running with the child. So I'm trying to figure out, when was the child found and where was the child?
He was found the same night. My dad had went to pick him up from him at his house. And I believe the cops also went to check on the baby at Rick's house, if I'm not mistaken.
Was Rick even in the vehicle with you?
Yes, he was.
So how many children do you have?
I have 3 children and 1 on the way.
And what are their ages?
I have a 6-year-old, a 2-year-old, and a 3-year-old.
And you're able to take care of these children on a 7-Eleven?
They go to daycare.
Okay.
And my little girl goes to school.
All right, this is what the court is going to do. $600 fine, probated, 1 year deferred adjudication, ignition interlock for half the term, parenting classes, DWI education course, DIP, removal of GPS by agreement. And I believe she's on a monitor at home. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, that monitor, I don't want any downtime between transferring from that monitor to ignition interlock. Proof of employment within 15 days. There's to be no employment as a home health care provider or any employment involving minor children. Was CPS involved in this at all? Child Protective Services involved at all?
Not for this case, no.
CPS compliance, if applicable. What was your previous CPS history?
I had got beat up by that same ex, and that was before the DWI happened. So CPS was already involved because of family violence.
All right, and are you, and this is the person who you said took the child and ran away, Rick?
Yes, ma'am.
And I'm assuming the father of the baby you're carrying is Rick?
No. That's long gone.
All right, so your relationship with Rick was still, you were still in a relationship with him in 2020.
Yes.
And now you're in another relationship in 2021 of August.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I just want you to hear that and internalize that. So we'll do CPS compliance if applicable. I'm going to want field visits 2 times monthly, random. 60 hours of community service restitution. Rebecca, is there anything else she needs?
No, ma'am.
Ms. Vargas, is there anything else you need from this court in order to be successful?
No, ma'am.
All right, next I'm going to show you what's entitled Trial Court Certification of Defendant's Rights to Appeal. Did you review that document with your attorney? Did you understand it? And did you electronically sign it?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
Because this is a plea bargain agreement, because I followed your plea bargain agreement, because you waive your right to appeal, you do not have the court's permission to appeal. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
We can go off the record. Now, here's what I'm going to say to you, Ms. Vargas. You said, I think 3 children and 1 on the way.
Yes.
And you keep going in and out of relationships. Here's the thing. When you bring someone in your children's lives, you need to be certain of who that person is that you're bringing in your children's life. Now, the child you had with you during this accident at the airport, she's been traumatized, or he's been traumatized because his mother was driving intoxicated. You said in the report you were getting into an argument with Rick because you accused him of cheating. So they're involved in the crash. Then they have their father, according to you, taking him from the vehicle or her from the vehicle, running, police getting involved, helicopters being called out. For that child to be that young, that child has had a lot of trauma in their life.
Yes.
And I'm going to tell you what I tell everybody. You're an adult. That child is not an adult. You cannot send that child off into the park and say, go raise yourself. None of the children ask for the parents that they have. So it's up to you to be a better parent to them. And going in and out of relationships, that's not good for your children, because children need stability. And if you would have spoken and learned in CPS, that's what they always say, children need stability. So
Yes.
maybe you need a class. I can't give you a class on self-esteem building, because I don't know if that class exists, but you may need that. And I'm going to tell you what I tell all the guys.
I have counseling right now.
Okay, I'm going to tell you what I'm going to put in there then, Rebecca, she's to continue with counseling. And I'm going to tell you what I tell all the guys. You probably shouldn't get involved in a relationship until you can have an orchid, and that orchid grows and blooms for a year. Because orchids require patience, they require tenderness. You can't move them around a lot. They require a lot of attention.
Yes, ma'am.
So I'm hoping your relationship works out, but if it doesn't, do not get into another relationship until you can take care of an orchid for a year. You understand?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm going to send you to breakout room number 1. They'll go over conditions with you. Mr. Toshi, you can go to 1, or either you can be excused.
Judge Boyd, real quick, did you order removal of her GPS? I'm sorry.
Yes, I did.
Okay, and I had one last request. I know we're not on the record. Is there any way you might give her credit for her 2 jobs toward her community service? I know some judges do that. I don't know if you do or not.
No.
She's got a big plate.
No, and I'm going to tell you why I'm not going to do that. Because in the United States, for some reason, people do not want to deal with consequences, right? It's like she has 3 children, 1 on the way. These are choices she made. The relationships, these are choices she's making. I don't know about her life or what's going on with her life, but these are all choices that she's making. And choices have consequences.
Okay, understood. Was just asking. I'm gonna let her go to the breakout room, Judge. I've got to go to another Zoom.
All right, thank you. Have a good one.
I'm glad we got through it. Thank you, Judge.
Sure.